We've covered a lot of ground about the QR and the championship round. We talked a lot about different things that you can do to help the students prep this year. What questions do you have that hopefully, if I can't answer, we'll get them, written down, and we will try to get you answers. The question is, a student that's been in an apprenticeship program, are they still able to compete? And that's enough of a corner case that I want to make sure Martha gives you the right answer. Again, the question about logistics versus, an operations role, I would want to defer to Martha and make sure we get you a proper reading, because I just don't want to say anything that, then we're going to have to go back and, revise and correct. But it's a great, yeah. No, I will make sure that gets clarified. The comment is, if you have been an operator before, then you cannot participate, and I believe you are correct. Yeah.
Operator before or current?
Yeah, you can't be currently. I think it's the whole reasoning behind this is we just don't want to pit, a college basketball player against, a pro basketball player. No, so the committee's recommendation was that we use the same process the NCAA does when they create a bracket. Yep, so it's bracketology, man. The thought process is your scores from the morning will be used as your seeding. And then based on that, that's how everybody gets seated. That's the latest information I have. That's why we want you to bring your alternates, because we want your alternates to be doing some stuff. We really want your alternates to be participating. Remember, there is going to be some knowledge testing, and the alternates are going to be participating in that for sure. But I would tell you, prep your alternates for anything. And we will take the question about can they participate in the QR back to the committee to make sure we're being absolutely clear. Because our ultimate goal in all of this more than anything is, if you have alternates and they have an opportunity to come, we want you to bring them here. We'd love to have as many people get a chance to visit your campus, do all those cool activities, meet with industry, etc. So they're observing the interaction after the fact. There's interaction between the judges once the competition is over. During the competition, we ask the judges not to, just because you're seeing things, and all that stuff should be kept confidential until we're done with the competition. Let me get a clarification on that, Ken, as to whether the alternates, once they get to the championship round, can still remain in a pool, or whether they've got to be designated. I want to make sure I say the right thing. I suspect they have to be designated at that point, but let me get a clarification on that. Yeah, so let's just pick a hypothetical. School A, School Z, they get paired together. During that particular event, we're going to require you to mix and match. So it's not going to be, hey, all of School A can be on the field, all of School Z has to be on the console. No, we're going to purposely want to kind of mix y'all up a little bit. When it's all said and done, whatever score you as a joint team earn, so let's say jointly you earn an 86. That means you get an 86 and you get an 86 for that fourth one. Yeah, yes, you'll go back to your original teams, but for that scenario, how you perform as a team is how you get scored. So the incentive on this is to work as a team, to be cooperative, and to do the best you can to work out hey, we don't know each other, but man, we're all in this boat together, we better row. So we will, that's a great question. Let me go back and look at that and look at the schedule and what we're going to do. But that's a good question. The question was, is there going to be a little bit of time factored in for folks to get to know each other before they're just kind of slam banged, together and have to work? To the degree that, we talk about all that expectation around ranking and all these other things, you can take that a ton of different ways. I mean, we spent quite a bit of time exploring, so what does that look like? If you're, in one position and you're in the other, are you like, oh man, this is awesome. We've still got a chance, baby. we might just make this after all. We might pull it out. And then, all the variations of it in between that happen because humans are humans. So that should be very, very interesting. What other questions can I answer for you today? The only thing that will be provided to the schools is that practice login. It was kind of a half scenario. This is what the login looks like. You get a user ID and a password. You come up on this screen, and when you click here, you can see how it brought up the practice module. And so this is what it's going to look like. It's going to have the screenshots, the alarm summary, whatever the trends were, etc. So that stuff will be in it along with some tabular data like this.
In the form of screenshot.
Yes, exactly what you see here just for that specific unit. So that's the data that they're going to get. And then in addition to that, as we do each time, they'll have the training manual. So they'll also have access to this. Once you launch it, you can see the timer's ticking. And that's the time you have allotted. And they'll just advance through the screens. So it'll be working from this screen. This is why having two is so much better than one. Because otherwise, all right, I've read my instructions. Let me go pull up this. Let me look through it. Let me come back and answer a question. So rather than do all that, two screens is definitely recommended for this year. Interesting, you should mention that. I know that's in the instructions, and I would say hold off on that. I think we're going to have a clarification about how that's going to get done. There are some logistical issues with that, and I think really what we want more than anything is we like something that shows that these were the X people that came in and attended that day and took that test. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to be, but I would tell you hold that thought. Thank you for asking about whether cameras were required, because I know it's in the rules, and it purposely got pulled out of this today because some of y'all want to run this in like late hours of the night. I'm not sitting there on a to make sure who it is, because y'all don't want to see what I look like at that hour of the night either. Okay, so the question is, do all the teams from a school have to test on the same day? And the answer is no. You can stagger them and schedule them at their convenience just within that window of the 6th through the 31st of March. So yeah, we would encourage you, to try to fit that in so that you can ensure the students can make their test time. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Give them the flexibility to do it and then get them to commit so they actually come and take the test. We want as many teams to compete as possible. The question is, are there any scenarios going to be provided to use for training? I'm unaware, so you'd have to show me what that is, and then I could comment on it. But I don't think, as far as I know, Ken, nothing officially comes down from NAPTA in terms of scenarios other than this little sign-on practice scenario. There aren't a whole lot that are available like these right now, but I can tell you, you can expect that the question's going to ask about cause and effect. The questions are going to ask about, given a set of conditions, what's the best, corrective action to choose, things like that. But this year, it'll all be multiple choice. The question is, are we going to share the results of the scenarios after the fact? And I'm going to have to go back and talk with the team, because part of the issue, I think everybody knows, is eventually, in the past, we've recycled scenarios. And if we don't release a lot of information about them, then 3-4 years later, we might be able to reuse it again. But we also have figured out that a lot of you are all keeping track of the scenarios that we have, and you realize we're using them. And so Now we're creating brand new from scratch ones. Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a great point, and I totally agree. And that's why we're going to 100% multiple choice questions, so that even if we can't tell you specifically that they answered this question wrong, we can tell you, hey, they missed all the knowledge questions on compressors. Because like I would give you one of the feedback items I would tell you that came back from last year. We had a pretty big emphasis on compressors. And I would tell you a lot of schools struggled with just the process fundamentals questions around compressors. And so, we want to try to give you better diagnostic data. So we hear that. Thank you for, yeah. All right. If there are no more questions, then one, thank you again, as always, for your participation. I want to recognize the other members of the committee that aren't here. Martha McKinley, Gail Cannon, Tim Judge. They're really also a lot of the effort that's going on, behind the scenes. And of course, thanks to the sponsors, because without them, we couldn't get this done. And so thank you all for being here. Thank you to the schools for bringing your teams. We look forward to having you here at the competition.